Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unfiltered Flow, ELSC, the podcast dedicated to the progression of the fluid power and automation industries. I'm Meghann Cook here with Alan Burdette, and today is our pleasure to welcome Mr. Jeff Watts to the show. Jeff is in business development at Hydropower. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Very glad to be here. I appreciate the time for sure. Forward to sharing some ideas.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining. So, Jeff, tell us in your current role as business development, what does your day to day look like?
Well, the day to day is interesting and a lot different than it was in my past. I am really back to where I was many years ago, pure selling and taking care of customers. So, in business development, especially for me, I'm in a part of the country where a lot of people don't know who Hydropower is. We're based out of Portland. And I'm developing new business in the Midwest primarily. And it's a lot of cold calling, prospecting, and finding new opportunities and teaching people about hydropower and the value we can bring to them with our solutions and other products. So it's a lot of also taking care of existing accounts, which obviously I have, but day to day, a lot of prospecting, continuing to try to find new opportunities,
Okay.
developing business.
Very good. What's the favorite part of your position, Jeff?
I will tell you the favorite part is that hunt, if you will. I've always been, and I'll talk about it, I'm sure, later, earlier in my career, really into going after new opportunities and new business. Then taking care of those customers and showing them value. So my favorite part is being able to go in, whether it's on Teams or in person, sit down, introduce myself and our company to customers, showing them what we can do that's different and that separates us from some of the other guys out there. And then obviously getting those opportunities and then showing them exactly that what I said is true and that we can do what we said we could do.
Right.
That's
The
pretty fun.
follow-up's always important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Let
Absolutely.
let me ask you this. So you go in, you meet with a customer, you make your pitch, why you're better and what you have to offer. So from there, do you hand off these accounts to account managers or do you continue to foster the growth and maintain those accounts?
Maintain those accounts. So and the account base is growing. So at some point maybe that has to happen. We have account managers in the Northwest and in the Southeast. There are some accounts that, because of my lengthy tenure and experience, that I know in different parts of the country that don't make sense for me to deal with. So I kind of initially work with that account, get the thing going. And then, because let's say maybe it's in Washington State or something, then I would hand it off to someone else. But the accounts, technically about the midsection of the country, what I deal with, they're mine to keep, and I keep managing them until maybe it gets too big. We'll see. That would be a
Okay.
good thing. Now it's not
Okay.
too big.
Right. So tell us, Jeff, how did you get started in the industry? And you've had such a long tenured career. Can you go through the positions that you've held throughout your career?
Yeah. Try not to make this too long, but 44 years in the business, right? Quit college for the second time. I went out to LA and spent a year out there in 1980 and came back. And a friend of mine was going in the Army. He says, I work for a company called Delta Power. If you want a job, go apply. You guys may know Delta Power Hydraulics. They make cartridge valves. And they're, of course, in Rockford, Illinois. Well, that was it. I started, I had been in shipping and receiving in California, so I got the job. And they trained me to do everything from building power units, building flow dividers, putting together cartridge valves, shipping, receiving. It was slotted to be the shop foreman, which I said I'm not going to be. I want to be in sales. Well, they didn't have room. As you can imagine, Delta was quite small then. Anyway, so then I moved to a different company. I wanted to be in inside sales to start. So Fenner Fluid Power, you may know those guys as SPX, and now a whole different name. Was inside sales. Of course, my goal was always to be in outside sales. I didn't have an opportunity at Fenner. I had an opportunity at a company called Lucas Fluid Power. You may know that name, Alan, from the
I sure
past.
do.
Old name. I'm a distributor, pretty big distributor. That was a Parker distributor. So then I was able to get into outside sales, knowing that I wanted to work for a bigger manufacturer. Ended up going into outside sales and then on to Hydroforce, which I did outside sales. And then I wanted to do international. I managed sales for Asia. That was an interesting endeavor, a lot of trips across the water, but a lot of really good experience. All those experiences, from building power units, shipping, receiving, to inside sales, to regional sales, to international sales, led to the position I took prior to this as Bucher Hydraulics and VP of Sales and Marketing for North America. That was over all their products. So it's been a long time coming. No formal education. I am certified fluid power specialist. I did go back and get my associate's degree, but basically my resume says School of Hard Knocks. And that's what it's all about. Sometimes that's what you have to do. It took me a long time to get to this level, and I learned a lot along the way. So maybe some higher education would have gotten me there faster, but I like what happened. I like how it happened, and I like where I'm at. Anyway, just to finalize my story, after 13 years of VP of Sales and Marketing at Bucher, who's a great company, by the way, I had accomplished a mission that I set out to do while I was there. And it was time for me to move on and get out of the management role. And friends at Hydropower Systems, who I've known for many years, wanted to do this business development, work out of my home, not manage people. So here I am for the last chapter of my career, and it's fun.
Well, I think your comment about education is very apropos. I think it was Mark Twain that said, I never let my schooling interfere with my education.
Yeah, and I don't knock it. Anyone who has the higher education, man, that's great. I kind of learned through being out in the field and taking my lumps and learning the hard way in many cases. Slow but sure. And at this point, I'm at a point in my career where I guess it wouldn't make sense to go back and get it.
We've had this conversation in different aspects over the past couple of weeks, so I understand what you're saying. And you've spent time with both distribution and manufacturing.
Yeah.
I'm going to depart from the script here a little bit. I won't ask you which you prefer. That wouldn't be fair. But could you tell me what you like and what you dislike about each of those job types, distribution and manufacturing? Maybe one or two things you like, one or two things you don't like.
Start with distribution. I like the variety of products in distribution and the idea that I can really come in and, I'll give you an example. I want to present a manifold solution or work on a manifold solution to a customer. I can go in and I can work with our application people and put in the best valve. Maybe it's 3 different manufacturers for that application, the best valve for the solution. I like that, along with ancillary items. So those are the things that make it kind of fun in distribution. What I don't care for, and you asked what I like and what I don't like, is the principles that kind of dictate what you do, and you have to go by a lot of rules and things like that, like APR, area prime responsibility rules. So there's sometimes some flexibility and sometimes not. So that part I don't like as much, but I do like the ability to have a lot of products. So two-way street there. The manufacturing side, yeah, I'll give it to you from a VP of sales perspective. On the manufacturing side, I had to make sure that we grew the business, direct OEMs, and through distribution. We needed both. What I liked was the ability to work with both direct OEMs and distribution to find the right markets for the products. What I didn't like maybe as much, even though Bucher had a wide variety of products, was you were channeled into, you only have this amount of products to sell, so you a little bit more limited. I like them both, though. They both have advantages overall, distribution and manufacturing. But here I am in distribution now, so I plan to close out my career. And it's challenging, but fun.
At Delta Power, going back there, how did you apply for that job?
Well, so again, my friend who lived in my neighborhood, who was going in the Army, said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going in the Army, which means there's going to be a spot open. You may go there." I waltzed to the front door and said, "Hey, I want a job. You got something open?" And in those days, nothing online. There was nothing in the newspaper about it. It was just a word of mouth thing. And timing was perfect, and I had a little bit of experience. When I was in California, at the little place I worked shipping and receiving, doing UPS, writing each transaction, none of this computer stuff, writing each transaction back in 1981. So I was a perfect fit, and that was it. It was just a word of mouth thing. Didn't know anything about hydraulics, didn't care. I needed a job, right? But I learned to like it, and 44 years later, I'm still in it.
Yeah, Meghann.
That's life, luck and timing, right?
A lot of it is. Absolutely. I'll take that.
So, Jeff, when considering a position, what do you look for in potential employers? Or what have you looked for, I should say, throughout the years in a potential employer?
When I was younger, certainly not. It was a different world. You looked at it in a different way. I needed a job. I needed the right job. And everything was kind of taken for granted that, okay, this is a good employer. I need the job. But what I look for today if I were to look at an employer, or I would assume people should look. One, certainly stability financially and reputation and how the company operates with its customers. And you could do all this research, or certainly now with all the people I know in the industry, I can do a lot of research and findings on a company with all the people I know in the industry. But solid financials, reputation. But something I've really learned more and more is how family or how employee oriented are they. I'll give you an example. I was at a supplier this week in California, and I mean, they are the most family employee oriented company I think I've ever seen. They have these lunches once a month with these giveaways and dinners, and family comes in, and they are just, I think it really builds this strength and confidence in the employer when you see those kind of things. So, I think, again, stability, reputation, financial stability, the culture on how they operate. And many companies are like this, good culture. Many I've seen that aren't. And the ones that aren't, I just soon not work for.
All right. Yeah, I
That's kind
think
of
what
where
you're
I'm at.
talking about there goes a long way with employee retention. It doesn't
Oh, yeah.
always have to be about being paid the most, or the amount of PTO you get or things like that. I think if employees understand the company, are supporting them and are interested in them and have these events.
Yeah, I'll say this too. When I was going to leave Bucher, knew I wanted to make a move, I had some choices in what I could do. And I'd known Hydropower for many years, and I knew their culture, not just how they treated their employees, but how they treated their customers and their customer service and things like that. And that's what really drew me to say, okay, these are the guys I want to be with in an employer.
That's a good
Yep,
point.
makes
The
sense.
reputation in the marketplace is huge also.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Jeff, throughout your career, what have you seen or what have you been through as far as your biggest challenges and hurdles with your different positions in fluid power?
Yeah, well, there were several positions. Let me start right in the present, a challenge I see. There's always been challenges, right? Dealing with quality issues as you're out on the road selling and having to, because these things happen, right? Stuff breaks sometimes sooner than you want it to. And having to retain that customer confidence in you as the face of the supplier when things go wrong. You've got to find ways to make sure that they continue to trust that what went wrong, you're going to fix it right, you're going to fix it quickly. That's always a challenge to maintain and retain that confidence in the customer, because things go wrong, and they have many times in my career, and I'm guilty as well of some things. But I think today, one of the challenges for me is, as I've grown into a more mature state, we'll call it, I'm having to adapt to all the new technology, how people communicate, especially I'm dealing with a lot of individuals who are much younger, from a much different generation than I, and having to adapt to how they operate, how they communicate, and what signs I see in them that, make things happen with these, I'll call it, younger people, is something that's a bit of a challenge, but I'm having to address, and I think I'm doing pretty good. So that's, again, the latest thing is just adapting to the new ways. I'm really an old school guy, but I have to adapt to the new younger people and the new technology and ways of texting and Teams and things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a challenge as you get older too.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough to keep up. Hey, let me ask
Yeah.
you a question about consolidation. You've been around a few years,
Mhm.
and there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry, both on the distribution side and on the manufacturing side.
Mhm.
What do you think are the good points about that and the bad points about that?
Well, let's just take one example. There's a couple examples out there that are pretty blatant, and I'm not here to knock anybody. I'm not probably gonna, I don't know if I should name names. I'll say positives. Consolidation recently, the Hydroforce Rexroth consolidation. I'll call it that, whatever you want to call it. And I see, because we're a large Hydroforce distributor, some upfront growing pains/issues, i.e., changing over computer systems at Hydroforce to the Rexroth system, right? That's an issue. But I think in the long run, what I see them doing with investments and automation and things that are more and more needed, and again, I'm using Hydroforce as an example, I see that the consolidation of those two guys, along with the products that they're marrying together, is a real positive. So you have the upfront issues, we'll call it the not good part of trying to put everything together. And then in the end, the things I think they will do and are doing, again, automation products will be good in the end. That's one example of good and bad. Maybe I have. There's a couple others. I've seen it go terribly awry for a few years when people do these things, and then they come out of it. I don't know. You agree or disagree, or you have a?
I think there are good points and bad points across the board.
Yeah.
And it's just, how you weigh those and what you
Yeah.
think's important, and that's what it boils down to for you.
Yeah, from a distribution level, it's interesting too when these things happen. I'll give you that example again of Hydroforce Rexroth. We're kind of sitting here going, okay, we're a Hydroforce distributor. Now what? What products will we work with or not work with? And so there's those questions certainly on a distributor's mind when these things happen. And I mean, I won't say anything good or bad, but I'll say, the Danfoss Eaton thing was an interesting consolidation, if you will, as well. So there was, I think, some tough times there, and I'm sure some good times will come out of it. Good?
Yeah,
Well,
thanks.
That's my
Jeff,
thought.
we appreciate your time today, Jeff.
Well, you know what? It's always good to talk to you folks, and I enjoyed the time, and hopefully people will get some insight. You guys will get some insight in some things, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Alan, Megan,
Yeah.
have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.